Fun having our conversations, and I'm very excited to hear a little bit more about Nudge.
Nudge.
Yeah.
It's my attempt to really think about evangelism as part of not just a separate segment. I mean, there's nowhere that Paul ever says, you know, do the task of evangelism. Evangelism is just part of what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. It's part of what it means to be a follower. And so, in many ways, discipleship and evangelism are one and the same thing. But how do we understand that? And so, this is Nudge is the metaphor that I'm using to awake. I call the subtitle is "Awakening Each Other to the God Who's Already There."
Yeah.
And I don't use this quote in the book, but the founder of my tribe, somebody named John Wesley.
Yeah.
And he had a saying that really revolutionized the whole culture of England in the 18th century, and that was what he said is, "Go and see the poor in their hovels, for Jesus is already there, and He will be with you." Didn't I say it all?
Yeah.
Go out into the world, because Jesus is already there, and He will be with you. So he called this prevenient grace. Calvin called it common grace. I mean, you got a lot of different ways of talking about it. But the notion is that I don't take Jesus anywhere.
Right.
I mean, that's really kind of arrogant, the idea that He didn't show up until I arrived.
Right.
No, but He is already there, and I'm just, the basic task for me is to find out what He's doing, to read the signs of what He's up to, so that I can join Him in what He's already doing.
Well, and it seems as if in the past, evangelism and discipleship have been kind of segmented or even divorced from each other.
Yeah, and you can't. I mean, what I'm trying to do is to say we can't do that. And so I call it an apple, not an orange approach to evangelism. You know, an orange, it comes in these segments, and you peel it, and you take it apart. And that's what we've done to everything. We've done it to the Bible, chapter and verse. We've done it to theology, all those ologies, ecclesiology, soteriology, pneumatology, eschatology. But this is an attempt to really see what it just means to let Jesus live His resurrection life in and through you. And in that, then you are recognizing Him, recognizing, recognizing Him and what He's doing, and joining Him in what He's already up to.
Well, maybe instead of us trying to create the event evangelism, it's to see where it's already happening.
Right.
I mean, that's but there it takes a certain humility, doesn't it, to engage God rather than try to have God come engage us.
Yeah, and it also, but there's a warning here, and that is in the Hippocratic Oath. The first rule, number one, is do no harm.
Yeah.
And so that's why the old evangelism was kind of shut up and listen. I mean, no, go and tell.
Yeah.
But I'm saying shut up and listen. I'm saying no. You better not harm. The worst thing you can do is harm what the Holy Spirit is doing. Because the Holy Spirit's already up to something. So you don't go in there and just, I'm going to here to show and tell what God's doing in my life. No. I shut up and listen to what the Spirit is doing in your life, so that I can understand and discern, which is merely means hear, what the Spirit is up to. So there's a lot of listening, hearing. There's a lot of kind of standing under. There's no understanding without standing under. So you're standing under, and then nudging people.
Well, don't we sometimes underestimate collateral damage? Where
huge.
in a nudge way, there isn't that difficulty, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. And you're making an impression, but I like that word, impress. You know, so an impress means you're actually making a dent. But what kind of a dent are you making? It's not your dent. You're making a Jesus dent. You're denting, you're impressing on that person what God is already doing in their life, where the Spirit is already at work, where Jesus is already up to something. So you're making a Jesus impression.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a Jesus dent. So everybody you meet, as I say, everybody you meet is a divine appointment. And God's up to something. Your job is to nudge. And it can be just a wink, it can be a smile, but it can be something, even when some nudges lead to, right to salvation. Right. So, but I'm here, you're here, because it wasn't just one person that led us across the river from lostness to faith. we crossed that river because there were a lot of people and a lot of processes involved.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of nudges that brought us to where we are today.
Right.
We've had a lot of nudges in our life. So it's not my job to do the whole thing.
Right, right.
It's my job just to keep nudging and trust the Spirit that I'm just a part of this grand story, that God does not will that any should perish,
right.
and that we're all here being wooed by the Spirit, and Jesus is up to something in everybody's life, and I just want to nudge, I want to leave a Jesus nudge, a Jesus impression on everybody that I meet in some way or other. So what I'm talking about is, instead of, it's all about me and my story, it's about the story of what God's already doing in your life. So the first thing I have to do is not try and tell you my story or the gospel story. The first is to listen to your story, to find out, so that I can find out enough about what the Spirit is up to. So then I can say, well, have you ever considered that may be God may be up to something really there, you know?
So there's an observation involved in this, identifying and speaking, naming, maybe?
And faith comes by hearing. So the first thing we have to do is we have to listen. We got to really listen to their story and also listen to what the Spirit is doing so that we can join in it. But that's what the other thing the book does, is help to us to, I've just gone through every one of the senses, tasting, touching, seeing, smelling, hearing, and how we can provide nudges in each one of those, but how we can also receive what the Spirit is doing in everybody's life through taste, touch, hear, smell, and so it was a fun book to read and to write.
Well, how about the idea that maybe we're never on the other side? That aren't we always being evangelized ourselves?
Yes,
always
absolutely.
being discipled.
And this is the thing that, for me, the key for a disciple to grow, and that's really what discipleship means, is learning. A disciple is a learner. Every nudge is a discovery of something new about Jesus. Because in nudging the Jesus in you, I'm also learning new things about what Jesus is doing and can do, and I'm being nudged in return. So there's a reciprocity here. It's not just I'm nudging you. That as I'm making a Jesus impression on you, I'm also growing in my understanding of what a great God we have. What Jesus is unbelievably imaginative and creative about what He can do in people's lives. And I had no idea. So we're both nudging, and that's the only way I can grow. And that's one of the reasons why I think the church hasn't been growing in terms of its depth of faith and love for Christ, is that we haven't been evangelizing enough. We haven't been doing the nudging so that we can then be nudged.
Well, and the critique many times can be, oh, why do you disdain or have dislike evangelism? Isn't it our love of evangelism, the love of Christ and following that is encouraging you in this way?
Yeah, and it's all about the love, is what it is. Yeah, I was thinking about Jonah this morning, and Jonah got in the dumps because God wasn't killing enough of his enemies. God wasn't the wrath God that he wanted God to be, And no, but a real spirit of holiness, is a real spirit of love, is a merciful spirit, and wanting people not to, not to condemn. God didn't send Jesus in the world to condemn the world, but to love the world and save the world. So this is not, I'm here to condemn you with the gospel, but and tell you about the wrath of God that's going to come your way. It's to just nudge the Spirit of what God is doing in that person's life and to love them into the kingdom.
It's already there.
It's already there.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate your hospitality.